Time magazine just announced the 100 most influential people of 2025. Wait, why is Blake Lively there?
Hollywood just exploded after Blake Lively scammed her way into Time's 2025 most influential list using glorified PR stunts and fake activism.
Blake Lively slammed for disgusting and embarrassing inclusion on Time 100 most influential people list.
From flaunting plantation fashion to signing photos of her own stunt double, nothing was real. And now, she's busy scrubbing the internet like we wouldn't clock the cover up.
And the only reason that they donated this money is because after multiple times, after year, they had been getting slammed and receiving so much backlash for their plantation wedding.
So Blake Lively is a titan now? A titan of what exactly? Delusion? PR manipulation? Or plantation-themed fashion?
Blake Lively is, and calling her a titan. A titan is defined by a person of very great strength, intellect, or importance.
Because Time magazine really sat down, looked at Joe Rogan, Serena Williams, Simone Biles, Mark Zuckerberg, and then just yeeted Blake Lively into the lineup like that makes even an ounce of sense.
So yesterday, the news broke that Blake Lively is one of the most influential people in the world. She is on the top 100 list that Time magazine released.
Like imagine going to a Beyonce concert and being told Blake's opening. That's the level of delusion we're dealing with. And the best part? The person who wrote Blake's Little Time tribute, Sherilyn Ifill, literally admitted she's never even watched Gossip Girl. She's never seen Blake at the Met Gala, never experienced the full force of Blake's quirky rich lady aesthetic.
And the person who wrote about Blake Lively is a civil rights activist, Sherilyn Ifill. I had to look at her Instagram to see who she was and who she is, and a lot of other people have gone through her Instagram already.
But somehow, she thinks Blake Lively is a philanthropist and a civil rights leader. Yeah, that's not satire.
The funniest thing is that the reason why Blake Lively is on this list is basically because she's a philanthropist and she gave, I think it was $2 million. There's different numbers everywhere. Somewhere it said only $200,000.
That's the actual write-up. If this was a skit on SNL, I'd still be like, okay, that's a bit too far, tone it down. But no, this is real. Time magazine straight up called her a civil rights leader. The internet had a collective aneurysm.
She said that she never watched Gossip Girl and she didn't watch her on the Met Gala. And I'm like, maybe you didn't watch the internet for the last 6 months or the last year.
People compared her inclusion to Time's previous winners. You know, Hitler in 1938, Stalin in both 1939 and 1942, and Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979. Yep, Blake just joined that Hall of Fame. Not a red flag, an entire damn color guard.
She was listed between Serena Williams and Simone Biles, and what they say about her is that she is a civil rights leader, which is so offensive.
Now let's talk about why she really got on that list. Was it for acting? LOL. Was it for leading movements? Double LOL? No. It was for writing a fat check. $2 million donation she and Ryan Reynolds handed over to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund after the internet slapped them across the face for something they tried to sweep under the rug. And if you think that was some selfless humanitarian moment, please, this was textbook reputation CPR.
But her and Ryan apparently gave a bunch of money to NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund.
Because we're not forgetting. Oh, trust me, we remember. 2012, Boone Hall Plantation. That's where our civil rights icon, Blake Lively, decided to get married, on a literal slave plantation in South Carolina. Like, yeah, nothing says "till death do us part" like celebrating love where people were literally whipped into forced labor. At the time, nobody blinked.
It's very clear what it is. The slave house, all of it. It's all very clear. Anybody who goes there, anybody who calls this place, it's not like they hide it from you. You have to be pretty dumb to not understand what actually happened there.
But flash forward to 2018, Ryan Reynolds tweets, "Wakanda forever," and the entire internet goes pause. Didn't you two get married on a plantation? And that, my friends, is where the spiral begins. By 2020, the backlash was full scale. Ryan Reynolds had to issue an apology, calling their wedding impossible to reconcile. I mean, no kidding. You picked a wedding venue from Pinterest, and oopsie, turns out it's the same place that held slave auctions.
He and Blake decided to get married at the Boone Plantation in South Carolina. That's where they got married. There's no slaves in that plantation right now, but you know, it was all about history, the braids. Were there ever slaves here? Did bad stuff happen here? How dare you get married here?
But let's not forget the real kicker. Blake said nothing. Because saying nothing is kind of her superpower until her PR team tells her it's time to cry into a $5,000 pillow for a People magazine cover.
And people were outraged. And I'm not kidding, I'm showing you this headline from NBC News. It says, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively apologize for plantation wedding. Now this is published in 2020.
And when things got ugly and people were genuinely calling them out, Blake and Ryan whipped out the good old celebrity playbook. Throw money at it. That's when they made their now infamous donation to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. 7 years after the wedding. Light girl, don't act like you suddenly discovered social justice. This wasn't a moral epiphany, it was PR triage.
She's here because she made a contribution of $200,000 to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, amid criticism for previously having their wedding on a former plantation.
And that brings us to the most hilarious part of this scam. How much did they actually donate? Reports vary from $1 million to $2 million. It's like a donation lottery. Time magazine seems to be quoting the $2 million figure, probably just to make her seem more generous, like she donated her organs while she was at it.
They have so much money, so giving away $2 million is like pocket money for them. It's nothing.
But let's ask the real question, what did that $2 million actually do? Because the donation was filed under general organizational support, which sounds super noble until you realize that's basically code for cutting paychecks.
We'll probably never see again. And for her to be included is disgusting, but we know it's pay for play. People are researching how much it costs to actually be included in this.
And guess who was getting those paychecks? Sherilyn Ifill, the same woman who wrote Blake's glowing timepiece, was reportedly making over $700,000 a year. And the person who took over afterward, still banking nearly $500,000 annually? Oh, but yes, Blake's the civil rights leader. Right. She donated money that went straight to a salary, and suddenly, we're supposed to believe she's on par with Simone Biles? Let me put this into perspective. Blake and Ryan donated that money back in 2019. The plantation wedding was in 2012.
What happened in 2019 was that Blake and Ryan were once again in desperate need of good PR. And I will say this time it wasn't their fault.
They didn't make the donation out of sudden guilt. No, they waited 7 years, until the George Floyd protests blew the lid off every performative celebrity. That was the cultural moment where silence was violence and Instagram squares turned black. So of course, they had to do something. And by something, I mean, write a check, take some filtered pics, and hope the timeline forgets.
It's honestly comedy at this point. I don't even think I'm offended anymore by anything that this degenerate does.
But Time magazine didn't name her influential back then. Nope. They waited 6 years until 2025 to suddenly say, hey, remember that thing you did when your brand was imploding? Let's slap a crown on you now. A 6-year delay. Nothing says timely honor like digging up a donation from a previous decade and calling it relevant because you're desperate to seem inclusive. Let's be honest. This isn't recognition. It's image resuscitation.
That seems unlike them. They would, keep donating money to make themselves worthy. This whole thing is just shocking to me. It's shocking to me.
And where are the receipts? Not the PR statements. The actual receipts? No one has published a breakdown of how that $2 million was used. No program records, no transparency, just vague talk about organizational support. For all we know, she might have spent more on her Met Gala shoes than on actual community uplift.
100 of this year as a Titan for a donation they made that they were using to cover their own racism. And now they're suddenly 6 years later a Titan of the Year.
Blake didn't make that list because she changed the world. She made it because she got caught, paid off the embarrassment, and waited long enough for some desperate media execs to repackage her as inspirational. It's like someone burning down a house, then donating a candle and getting praised for bringing the light.
It's pretty bad. Oh, so they're putting in all the different comments that people put out. Instead of reading them there, I want to show you. And let me show you first. This is what she had to say about the honor. She also posted a story about it.
And this is who Time wants to shove between Serena Williams and Simone Biles. Women who trained their bodies into literal machines and broke global records. Meanwhile, Blake gets a photo shoot and a checkbook moment and gets called a Titan. If that's not the most Hollywood elite nonsense, I don't know what is.
And the reality is, they did give $2 million to fund social justice initiatives with the NIC. I guess after that donation, they were pressed up to give more to give. And so they both each gave $1 million each.
The moral of this whole section? Blake Lively didn't earn her way into anything. She bought it. And the fact that people are expected to applaud that, nod politely, and pretend like this is normal? Nah. This is what happens when a mediocre starlet with the world's most curated Instagram feed tries to cosplay as a humanitarian to dodge the stink of her past. And we're not letting her get away with it this time.
She received glowing tribute inside the magazine from civil rights attorney Sherilyn Ifill, which, shame on you, Sherilyn. And if she's part of NAACP, it makes sense to me.
Blake Lively, self-declared civil rights icon of 2025, decided to casually name-drop Magnolia Pearl jeans in an interview, called them her real-life jeans, like she's giving us a peek into her woke little wardrobe.
I just really loved those patchwork like jeans that you have.
Magnolia Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my real life jeans.
Yeah.
Except there's just one massive problem. Magnolia Pearl isn't some quirky indie label. No, this brand, brace yourself, literally dropped a plantation line of clothing. That's not an exaggeration. They marketed it as aesthetic Southern charm, inspired by actual plantations.
I think I'm gonna have a heart attack. Magnolia Pearl released a plantation line.
And Blake, the woman who claims to support marginalized voices, wore that proudly. She really stood there like, look at me, I care about black communities, while wearing the fashion equivalent of Confederate cosplay. The internet, rightfully, lost it. Screenshots flew. People were like, are you kidding me? And I mean, how many chances does Blake need to not embrace plantation culture?
And they clearly ignored it. In fact, Blake has a history of romanticizing the Deep South with her weird blueberry muffins that she did. She has a history of weird kind of racist things.
It's like she's speed running her way through every form of softcore racism Pinterest has to offer. We had the plantation wedding, then the NAACP donation PR cover-up, and now, drumroll, plantation couture. This woman could walk into a Klan rally and think it's a Bridgerton-themed garden party.
We're being called racist. What do? Well, we're rich. We're fabulously rich. We have money. And so they contacted the NAACP and wrote them a big check. Okay, that's what happened.
Critics weren't holding back either. Magnolia Pearl's clothing line got called exactly what it is. Aesthetic racism for the rich. That's the perfect term.
She has a history of weird kind of racist things.
It's plantation core for bored white women who think Civil War trauma looks cute in sepia tone. And Blake, of course, just had to be their poster girl.
Blake was like, oh, they're from Magnolia Pearl, which is a very controversial fashion brand. From the people I've seen that's done research on this brand, it's called the Plantation fashion brand.
I think I'm gonna have a heart attack. Magnolia Pearl released a plantation line.
One viral comment nailed it. She has no black friends, otherwise someone would have told her. And honestly, that's the nicest way to explain it. Because the other explanation is that she knows exactly what she's doing and just doesn't care. You don't accidentally stumble into this many racially charged scandals unless you're either painfully stupid or impressively self-centered.
It's super expensive as well, horrible clothing, and it's another proof that Blake Lively, first of all, doesn't have any sense of fashion, and she would wear plantation fashion.
But we're not done roasting yet. Let's talk about her fake fan moment, because this one's award-worthy. At the Another Simple Favor premiere, Blake pulled what might be the most hilariously transparent PR stunt in recent memory. She was out there signing photos of Lady Deadpool, you know, that character she's never played, never worn the suit for, never been in the role.
All these photographs of Lady Pool, all shiny new photographs. I don't know where they came from. If someone was on the street saying, hey, do you want this picture? And you can go over there and get her signature on it, and then you maybe can sell it on eBay and make $25.
That's not even her. It's her stunt double. And these glossy, identical Lady Deadpool photos just happened to be circulating right there at the premiere, all shiny and fresh, like someone just printed them at FedEx 10 minutes before.
And as we know, Blake Lively did never wear that Lady Pool suit. So this is the stunt woman who pretended to be Blake Lively in the Deadpool movie. And she's signing it, smiling for another movie she is promoting.
And Blake? Suddenly she's a fan's best friend, all smiles and Sharpies, handing out autographs like candy. This from the same woman who has spent the last decade sprinting past fans like they were holding active lawsuits. But now, in the middle of her PR fallout and legal drama with Justin Baldoni, she's suddenly approachable? Please. She's out here performing harder than she ever did in the rhythm section.
I can't remember seeing Blake Lively doing this before this whole thing happened, that she ever took time to actually go up and talk to fans and sign posters and stuff like that. She was always in a rush, getting away from everyone. So this is a new Blake Lively.
People aren't stupid, they noticed. The whole scene reeked of resale bait. Those posters weren't some lucky fan's passion project, they were mass-produced for one reason. So Blake could play the beloved star, and hope someone puts the video on TikTok with a sappy fan edit. Blake was smiling like a politician kissing babies, pretending she's always been one with the people. Meanwhile, the only people she's ever been one with are event planners and publicists. It was the fakest interaction since Kris Jenner said the Kardashians care about privacy.
And that was the main thing people knew about. So they only finally, after getting married in 2012, donated this money in 2019 because of the George Floyd protests. And people were bringing back up again their whole plantation wedding. So finally, they just threw some money at the problem.
And if that wasn't phony enough, let's move to Blake's social media cleanup operation, which deserves its own Netflix limited series. Because have you noticed how the internet suddenly forgot about the whole plantation wedding thing?
So let me get this straight. She is one of 2025's most influential people because she gave a PR donation because she got backlash due to her wedding that was on a clear plantation.
It's not that people stopped caring, it's that the evidence started disappearing. Multiple tweets, replies, threads, and callouts that used to flood search results, gone. Andy Signor exposed it clearly. Tweet after tweet is either user not found or this account is protected.
And in 2018, it was called out. So Ryan Reynolds made this tweet. Believe the hype. All hail the king. Wakanda forever is what Ryan Reynolds tweeted out.
That's not a coincidence. That's digital manipulation. This wasn't a natural fade out. It was an orchestrated scrubbing. Classic case of hiring someone behind the scenes to sanitize your reputation before the rebrand kicks in. You know, the old new year, new me, new timeline strategy. And it just happens to align with two events. Blake getting her spot on Time's most influential list, and the ongoing lawsuit with Baldoni. Oh, how convenient.
A simple response was, "You got married on a plantation," is what the tweet was. And then it sparked a fury all over Twitter, and then him having to now donate again. Clearly the backlash was getting severe.
And look, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out that someone like Jed Wallace or his reputation laundering cousins got involved. A professional fixer whose job is to wipe away the receipts and spray digital Febreze on years of controversy.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, maybe hired a Jed Wallace to go clean up and scrape bad things of theirs off the internet? Huh. Could they have? Would they have done that?
Because suddenly it's like every piece of backlash from 2018 to 2022 just went up in smoke. Like Blake's plantation scandal was trending once a year minimum, and now you'd think it never happened. All you'll find is curated press, vague apologies, and her standing in a field barefoot holding daisies like she's Mother Teresa in couture.
They needed good PR. And so what happened was they decided, it says the move was criticized at the time, he came under renewed scrutiny in 2018 after Reynolds tweeted his support of Black Panther, the first superhero movie to feature a majority Black cast, and he was accused of hypocrisy.
It's giving cover-up. It's giving tech-washed. It's giving, I hired a team of PR witches to cast an algorithmic forget spell. And yet, it's also giving us more proof that Blake knows how bad it all looks. Because you don't hide evidence unless the truth is damning. And in Blake's case, the truth screams. So let's recap this absolute circus. Plantation-themed pants, fake Deadpool photo ops, and a wiped internet that smells suspiciously like corporate bleach. And through it all, Blake Lively is still strutting around, acting like she's the Rosa Parks of Instagram filters. Her entire rebrand is the equivalent of spilling red wine on a white couch and just flipping the cushion over like no one will notice. She can scrub the tweets, fake the fan love, and wear Magnolia Pearl like it's not soaked in historical trauma. But at the end of the day, we've got memory and receipts. And no matter how hard she tries to cosplay as woke, she'll always be the woman who built her image on plantation aesthetics, performative apologies, and the kind of PR stunts that would make even Kris Jenner cringe. Blake Lively must have thought she was accepting a Nobel Peace Prize with the way she responded to her Time magazine inclusion. I mean, let's just take a moment to appreciate the absurdity of it. In her delusional monologue, Blake called herself a healer, dream maker, empath, fighter, and risk taker.
Is basically because she's a philanthropist and she gave, I think it was $2 million. There's different numbers everywhere. Somewhere it said only $200,000. But her and Ryan apparently gave a bunch of money to NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund.
Girl, you forgot Unicorn Wrangler and Intergalactic Freedom Fighter while you were at it. She sounded less like an actress and more like someone auditioning for a Netflix self-help cult docuseries. One minute she's in couture on the red carpet, the next she's cosplaying Harriet Tubman with a ring light and an Instagram caption. Like, girl, stop. It didn't take long for the internet to do what the internet does best. Absolutely roast her into another dimension. One tweet said she sounded like a woman who Googled civil rights buzzwords and just copy-pasted them into her caption. And that's exactly what it read like. A straight-up word salad of self-worship, dripping in phony virtue signaling, and designed to make us forget that she once thought plantation-themed jeans were edgy. And then there's the part where she thanks Sherilyn Ifill for being her fire to illuminate in times of darkness. What is this, Game of Thrones? Is Sherilyn her Red Priestess now?
That's the whole story. Everybody needed a black friend to make it through 2018, and so Blake and Ryan paid for some.
Is Ryan Reynolds out here raising dragons while she fights off injustice in an $800 jumpsuit? This isn't activism, it's acting. And honestly, Blake hasn't even been that convincing in her actual movies. So why would anyone buy this Oscar bait performance in her caption?
They hit, so they're hitting up Sherilyn. We're like, look, we are in trouble again. It worked last time. Could you just say some nice stuff? Say some nice stuff about us because you have higher social currency than we do because you work for the NAACP. And they were like, yeah, sure.
But my absolute favorite line was when she said, I finally have a voice. Excuse me? You finally have a voice? You've been acting since 2005. You've been on billboards. You've led $1 million ad campaigns. You had entire Vogue spreads to yourself. You've starred in rom-coms, action thrillers, and sold out brand deals like cupcakes. But now, at 36, after calling yourself a healer on Instagram, you have a voice? Girl, the only thing you've ever lost is touch with reality. The cherry on top? People calling it exactly what it is. civil rights cosplay. It's not activism, it's role play. It's Blake dressing up in borrowed struggle, draping herself in someone else's cause, and hoping we'll applaud her for the effort. It's giving costume party. It's giving, I saw one Ava DuVernay movie, and now I think I'm Rosa Parks. And worst of all, it's so painfully obvious. There's no subtlety, no sincerity, just a perfectly filtered image with a caption so dense with fake empowerment buzzwords that even LinkedIn influencers were embarrassed.
She also posted a story about it. It says, "It's an honor to be acknowledged on the Time 100 list for 2025. To be written about by the great Sherilyn Eiffel is not something I take lightly."
Blake Lively didn't earn her way onto Time's 2025 most influential list. She bought it, plain and simple. Hollywood's PR machine is a rigged game of smoke, mirrors, and money. And Blake played every desperate card she had. Time's list, just like the Walk of Fame, pay for play, not merit-based. While real changemakers work in silence, Blake's out here role-playing as Freedom Barbie, spouting empowerment monologues from a Malibu mansion and pretending to be oppressed.
The donation came after 7 years after the Hollywood couple got married on a former slave plantation in South Carolina, a move that has repeatedly brought them fierce criticism, and for which Reynolds subsequently apologized.
Even Candace Owens called out the farce, labeling it celebrity privilege dressed up in fake activism. And the internet? It's not buying it. Blake's support is evaporating, comments limited, allies MEIA, and Ryan Reynolds fan pages are her last cheerleaders. Meanwhile, her courtroom credibility is toast. How can someone claim emotional trauma in court while strutting around Time as a dream maker next to Zuckerberg? And now, it ends with justice. Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively is in production, because people have had enough. Enough of her plantation-era spin jobs, white guilt fashion statements, and strategic fan service. Her legacy is on life support, and the karma clock is ticking. She wanted a voice? Congrats. We're all listening now, but trust, it's not applause. It's accountability. Blake's fairy tale is cracking, so get ready, subscribe, and drop your thoughts below, because this downfall's just getting started.